Welcome back to Black Lotus Buds. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Michael. Thanks for joining us.
We're kicking off our 5th episode on the channel where we're talking all things trading cards. And Michael.
5.
Yeah,
Yes.
talk to me about Arena.
All right. Well, I haven't we haven't had a lot of time to play. But the last time I played was with you watching on Twitch, and I was really happy to have somebody there to explain kind of that deck, that multicolored deck.
Those damn detectives.
Yeah, man, it made me feel better. So I had basically been overwhelmed. They had like 5 color decks to do, where I think I played like 4 or 5 games each. I mean, I binged it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to the multicolor, it was too complicated. I think we touched on it last episode. But Kevin, he went through it with me. And even he said, he was like, it's too much. It's too much to throw at a person all at once. I mean, there's like 7 different terms and different like skills all referencing each other. But I enjoyed playing it with you. I don't think that would be my style of play.
Yeah. I mean, it would grow on you, maybe like one card of that particular deck with those detectives, but overall, yeah. I mean, it does seem just a touch overwhelming, especially if you're like brand new. They should know, like, give you maybe a survey. Like, do you have any experience in the game? 1, 2, or 3.
I also don't. It's not my like fantasy. Like investigating and getting clues and like that. That's not.
Yeah.
That doesn't even sound like something I would want to do.
Well, you hit it.
So it's like.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head when you were like, why do I want to draw a card right now? You're like, yeah, it's a little bit too early in the game. You should be attacking, not drawing a card.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it were like the red deck, when I learned what the bombardment did and why I was like, why is it so important for all these goblins to like respawn and like reproduce? And then like I used it once and I saw bombardment just hit their main life, and I was like, oh, that's so obvious. I get it, right?
Yeah.
But, I'm not discouraged or anything. I'm definitely going to play more. I did also play... And I have news for you, because you had said something about a 20-card deck and in Pokemon TCG Pocket. And, bro, they're completely kind of different games. And I got to be honest, and I haven't really played a lot. I played on the phone. I'm embarrassed to say this as a future Path of Exile player, like a grinder. I don't even know if I want to tell you this. There's a mode on TCG Pocket, and you can just have it auto battle. So
No.
I clicked auto and just let it battle for me for like a whole day at work.
Oh my
and
gosh.
got through like tutorials. But I already know how to kind of play the game because I used to play. So I didn't really need that. And I will say, once it got to advanced mode, or like the harder, it's like the second from the last one, it didn't work at all. Like I literally watched it evolve a Charizard, and instead of attacking to win, it retreated and I lost. So there was a limitation. It like only did it in the very beginning, but I was happy that I could casually like get up points to open cards. And the game is different, man. It's strategically so you were like, yeah, it sounds like the same, because I was like, you got energy cards and trainers and you've seen all those, but dude, in real Pokemon, the energy is a card in your deck. So you get times where you don't have energy. You get times where you have too many energy. It's a balance, and it's not a very fun one. That's why back when I played, the decks were all about drawing cards, and you're just going back in your deck, because we talked about that. You're just looking for this one Pokemon or this one card, and it's like,
Yeah.
it was just boring. And now it is, with this format, there's only 20 cards, so you literally run out at times. And so you put some beefy cards in there. It just makes sense now. So if you're like stacking your deck with only really beefy Pokemon, it's like, yeah, well, you only had 20 cards, so that makes sense, right? And the energy, instead of having to draw one, you just automatically get one every round.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is pretty sweet. And then it's only 3 slots for benched Pokemon, which makes sense. And you had asked a question a few podcasts ago. You're like, is there any reason I wouldn't want to put a Pokemon on my bench?
Yeah.
And with 3, like, having played it, there definitely is. I mean, in the ones I was playing, like, it got kind of tough because I don't have a lot of cards. I just did it'll auto form a deck for you, and I'm assuming it was taking the best of the best. And I mean, they seemed to be pretty productive decks when I played with them. But I mean, I had to be careful. There were times where I knew I was looking at an evolved Pokemon just beating me up, and I knew there was only one in my deck that I could get that would save it. And so I knew I had to save that spot for the Pokemon. And so had I put a third down, then all of a sudden I can't be adding energies to it. So I need the space open, so once they're there, I can load them up. I was pleased to see that Pokemon does this thing where it just puts like random, like it gives you hope through gambling. So like, there's a Kangaskhan, I think, that in one of my decks, where it just does 30 damage times however many heads you get in 2 coin flips. But I mean, it took 1 energy to get there. So it's like, instantly, I can be doing 60 damage per turn if you're unlucky. Or I could be doing 0. But let me tell you, when you're like desperate, potential 60 is great.
It is amazing, yeah.
You know?
It can kick you right into the first place.
And it also feels better if you're losing. It feels better with a 20-card deck in these little tiny matches where you're not worried about, did I get an energy? Like, you're actually shifting your Pokemon as strategically as you can. It's pretty simple. Like, because, like, you know Magic really well. So if you played Pokemon a ton, you would master this, like, fairly quickly. But it's like, you kind of understand what cards you need at a certain point. And it's far less complex than Magic. So it's nice when you know you're about to lose or there's almost no hope. The game doesn't draw on. You know what I mean? It's quick, it's easy, and you're never screwed over with the energy thing, which is nice in TCG Pocket. I kind of like it better than when I played regular Pokemon. It feels way better. I don't know that I'll actually play it a whole lot. But I will say I enjoyed it more.
Is it like the gameplay overall just is a little bit more straightforward as far as like, it just makes sense how now you would win a game?
Well, like one of my complaints before was that when you get to the end and you're just dealing with these really crazy cards, like everybody's got these nutty cards in your deck.
Yeah, these like Charizard EX or, the Mew.
They were they were weird. They were weird rarity cards, but they would do a ton of damage and they would help you draw cards. And it was basically like, once you saw them, your opponent's just digging through their deck and they're placing down a bunch of energy, and it kind of cut that fat. It trimmed that out of the game. And now the games are so short where it's like, it kind of makes sense if you get a Pokemon out real quick and you start doing tough damage. It's a short game anyway. So it's like, I don't know, before, I'm used to original Pokemon where you slowly evolve up and you do all this stuff. But there's only 20 cards in your deck. The energies come every turn. So it's like, I don't know, it's just straightforward and strategic, and it's more fun, dude. It's just more fun overall.
Nice. I think structure sometimes can be really good. And maybe when it's like
It
less complicated, it's like,
it's
you know,
crazy to me. 20 cards instead of 60, energy automatically added once per turn, and 3 bench Pokemon. Those are the only difference, and I'm like, dude, I kind of love it. And I literally had committed to just grinding out. I played a lot, and once I got to top tier, I was like, I hate it. And so I'm just surprised to feel I'm on the other end of the spectrum now. You know what I mean? Like to really like it. Still not, I don't know that I'm addicted to Pokemon TCG Pocket in any way. But I am glad to have played it competitively. It does add another aspect, for me to look at cards in and appreciate cards.
but when you say competitive, I thought you were talking about like just pressing autoplay.
Yeah, well, I got once you get to the last 2 tiers, you can't even do that. So I did play a few matches where I had to take things into my own hands, and it's still too easy. I have a feeling when I go to play players, I'll probably do really well in the beginning because they'll rank me with people that are beginners, and I'll wreck. And then I'll probably get to the same place I was before. But the difference is, it's like with the 60 card deck too, you have to stock a lot more. I mean, probably 20 of those are energy, I guess. But having a smaller deck also gives you a higher chance to stock your deck and pull your card. Because, if you only have 10 Pokemon of the 20 cards, right, there's only so many you're going to draw. So there's a good chance you're going to get your best one. Whereas, like, in the bigger decks, you're basically against an opponent that was able to just buy whatever they wanted. They just could wreck you, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I would definitely be interested in seeing how that went. But I also, it's kind of like, do people play that competitively in that way, or is it more fun? I would be more interested in a Pokemon format like that. They may even have one, and I may not just know about it. But I wonder if this is something new they did.
Yeah, something to look a little bit more into.
Yeah, for sure.
I find, again, I'm still under the weather, so forgive me. I'm gonna try not to get too loud on mic with these coughs. But yeah, I find just the overall Pokemon experience to be pretty exciting. I mean, it is like fast paced. It reminds me of a lot of these like quicker strategies in Magic when there's these strategies where you're just trying to get creatures out there, and then now get these creatures like a 1/1 creature if it has like prowess, where anytime you cast a spell that's not another creature. So pretty much every other spell, I think in the game is just quite simply called a non-creature spell. The creature gains toughness and power and gets stronger. There's like so many strategies that incorporate just taking a bunch of little creatures and letting them become like pretty menacing demons in just like with 3 or 4 mana, not a whole lot. And now with Bloomburl that you know so much about, the mice and the rabbits, these decks, like people would just make a deck off of these creatures now, because like there'll be a couple mice that do the similar thing. One that I'm thinking about is anytime you target it, all other mice get +1/+0. I think it's all mice that you control, including itself. So if you have 4 mice on the battlefield, you just take a card, like a sorcery card, that would do, +3/+3 to that one creature. And now all of your other creatures are getting enhancements because of that one spell that you targeted with that one creature. That's a huge gain with a deck, and maybe it wouldn't work so well with a larger creature, but when you have all these little tiny creatures that benefit off of that, it's a really quick way to ensure your opponent can't block all that damage. And sometimes in Magic, it is these quick strategies that wins you the game. And Pokemon, I think, is kind of, for right now, it just seems like all of it is that quick gameplay that you would see in Magic. And maybe you'll find that Magic is a little bit more slow sometimes. These longer ramp-up decks, ones that use Atraxa, I think that we talked about once, this crazy 7/7 flying creature with lifelink and all this other stuff. And when it hits the battlefield, if you can't stop it from hitting the battlefield, it's pretty much that card that just kisses the opponent goodbye. And it's fun to play. It's also,
it's kind of like
terrifying.
I hated. I got wrecked by a lifelink creature and in Magic, and designing a deck, it's like, how much are you putting in that's... Because you don't know what you're going to draw. So it's like, you can put a bunch of sorcery or instants that it's like, it kills a creature, but it's like, you can't really... You know what I mean? Like, you got to balance...
Yeah, you have to make sure.
Your attack and defense. It's kind of hard. I guess that's why you said luck plays a role.
Yeah. And also, like, the math. At the end of the day, if you're smart with the math, then you have to trust the draw. Even when you might have a deck that you need 3 lands in your hand to start the game, and you're looking at 2 lands and 5 other spells. And sometimes you'll say, I know that, perhaps on my next draw step or the following draw step, as long as I draw a land, I'm going to be okay. So if I have 2 turns to, stay on par with my opponent, I have to trust the process and keep this deck and not mulligan. And then, otherwise you could find yourself doing what you did, which you said the first time mulligan showed up, you didn't know what it was, so you just kept clicking it almost in a fit of joy, and then realized that you would have to discard a card for every time you mulligan.
Bro, I mulligan like 3 times. I just kept doing it, and then I got so confused later, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, I'm laughing with you, Michael. That's just so funny. I mean,
the other opponent was probably like, what is he doing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you're playing on Arena and you see somebody, you'll be able to see the mulligan. It tells you if they mulligan, like when you mulligan. But then when you keep your cards, you could see them mulligan again. And it's kind of funny because you're like, uh-oh, I've been there before. Hopefully we can keep this game playing through in its entirety before one of us has to concede. But, I've won a game, I think, with 3 cards. It's possible, but not recommended. So, yeah. How is so you being the card puller, how's your card pulling been since the last time we spoke? Have you yanked anything out that?
I don't think I've yanked anything. I spent time organizing that whole long silence, or it wasn't really that long, but that pause there. I'm literally staring at the Duskborn box, and it says like House of Horror, and I'm like, I was just kind of imagining, because I'm more into fantasy. Like classical fantasy, like wizards and like Pokemon, I vibe with really well. But I mean, those are just magical creatures, right? Those are all just magical creatures. And then I like the Bloomborough because they're just cute. But really, if I get into like what I think is awesome, it's like, I mean, what sorcery is doing right now and what I think original Magic was, which is all like that classical kind of magic, sorcery, medieval vibe kind of deal, dark magic, all that, and I was wondering what House of Horror contained in it. But I mean, honestly, I haven't really pulled anything, I don't think. I'm waiting on a One Piece card that I got, and so now I think I can open up a One Piece box, but I also have to buy Pokemon. Like I committed to a half a box of Pokemon every other video, so I gotta buy one, and I gotta wait. It's not in the budget until like mid-December. But I organized my cards into these boxes. I sent you a picture. I got them off of Amazon, and they're like a faux leather and a cloth interior. They're much nicer than what I had before, but I'm still like uncertain. I have two different versions, and one has a window on it, and I had initially meant to get only those, and instead I accidentally got a different version. And so my solution to this was I used Loctite, and I glued dragon sleeves on the front, and that I can put my own cards in. And I actually, it still looks really sleek and fresh. And
It does.
each
It does.
box,
I have to add. Like I saw these pictures.
yeah, they don't look bad. I mean,
I love what you did with the
thing is,
Loctite. I think I didn't understand it the way that you were describing it the last time on the podcast. I was just completely quiet, confused, because I was like, I think this makes sense, but then I didn't have any picture to reference, so I was a little bit like lost. Like, well,
what is kind of
if I
like just saying it's Loctite and they're glued. It does. I mean, but what you get is on the face of it. They're pretty much completely flat because the edge of the box has a little bit of a lip. So I mean, it just looks like there's a perfect card slotted right there.
mm-hmm. Yeah. They should make them like
there's
that. By the way, that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, that would be well. The window version has like these hard sleeves that you literally slide out the top and put your card in, and they slide back in. But they have like a little lip, and the hard case is exposed to the outer elements. In the same way the Dragon Shield sleeves are on the boxes too. But they each come with their like own little quirks. One has these clips that keep the cards pressed against the end so they don't flail around, that was what I was super happy about, right? But I've realized, and I've kind of damaged a bunch of my cards getting them in there, and I don't care mostly about them. I tried to be better with the rarer ones, but I was getting kind of fatigued. But I think I did a mostly good job. But it's kind of like, that's not what you really want. I don't want to have to be avoiding a hazard that I created. So the other ones have these dividers that are spaced out. That might be better. But even then, because I placed my Yu-Gi-Oh! And One Piece and Dragon Ball. Well, I actually don't have any One Piece open, so just Dragon Ball and Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! I put them in the other ones, but it was hard. I found myself, when they were like kind of perfectly at the divider, trying to crush them down and slide the divider in to keep them there. And it's like, I'm trying to find a really good system for keeping cards in really good shape. And, you know, I would say I haven't mastered it yet. And I'm not sure what's better. I guess I'm going to explore and test and see how I feel. I may, at the end of the day, I kind of like the ones I made better. And it's not because of the face. I actually like the slotted card facing better. But it's because the ones that I did, it's all one box. So the lid is attached, and you flop it over, and then you flop it back. And the other one, the lid completely removes. And I don't really, I mean, it's practically the same damn thing, but I like the other version better. It's like they each have a feature that I like.
Yeah. Well,
that the other doesn't.
It shows how much you like care about the cards and the condition that they remain in, even when you're not looking at them. You know, because you could easily throw a pack, open pack, just in a spot and just let it start rattling around, move it or here and there, just get scratched. You don't even realize that you just ruined the condition of the card.
They like rub and they bend and they get they'll get chafed. And it's like, I'm trying to make up I had Pokemon. I opened up a base set box when I was a little kid. I got it for Christmas. A whole base. It may not have been base. It may have been jungle or something. But a whole box, man. I had a whole box of these cards, and I like threw them, bent them, chewed on them, peed on them. Like, who knows what I did? I was a kid. And it's like, then I had Yu-Gi-Oh! I did Yu-Gi-Oh! Perfect. I barely played it. I put them right in a binder sleeve. And then they were all first edition. And I mean, these are super valuable cards now. I put them in a binder, and then when I moved out, I got kicked out when I was I was young. I wasn't a teenager, I don't think, maybe 19. And I ended up just leaving them on the floor. I abandoned them. I was like, I can only take so much with me, and these don't make the cut. And so, Kevin, this is my only chance to redo this. Like, I'm going to keep some of these damn things, and I'm going to keep them in good condition.
Good.
And so in 20 years, I'm going to see what they're actually worth.
Hell yeah.
And I also feel like I don't want to throw them away. And so if I'm not going to toss them, I just think, why not keep them in good condition,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Magic will... I don't know. I feel like I'll be less anal about Magic, but it's kind of like once you learn how to do it with one kind of set of cards, why not just do it with all of them, In a perfect world, everything else, it would all be gem mint forever, but I haven't figured it out yet.
Well, you're at least, getting me to scratch the surface on this gem mint, PSA graded, what's the other one? Bartholomew. What's the other one called with the B?
Beckett.
Beckett. There we go.
There probably is, there's fake ones now, so there probably is a Bartholomew's grading center.
Oh yeah. I'm running it out of East. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna name a country right now. It's too hot climate out there. Might get banned right away.
Oh, but they were from the East though, were they?
East Germany. No. Who knows where? But,
I always found it interesting because I don't know what the context was, but people have said something about it was like an opinion about Westerners, and I don't know if it was like I was like like California or hemisphere. Are we talking about like Western hemisphere of the Earth
or coast of the United States? Yeah,
it's funny how you can have like pride in just random shit. That's why if aliens ever like wore out, like we just all become human, right? Like that, like we just all become a teammate all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And now it's us against them. Isn't that such a weird perspective?
It is. It's insane to think about. Go, wow. I mean, don't you want to learn about our football?
Yo, is there an alien set of Magic?
Well, okay. I have to at least pull up the picture, the screenshot that I took earlier, because I got to talk to you about this.
There's no way this is about to be an alien.
No.
You're gonna blow my mind.
No. It won't. No. But kind of segues into Magic, standard play. So let me explain. I have to just read this verbatim again. Let me just read this and then this is right off of StarCityGames.com. They're talking about stuff to happen in Magic in 2025 and beyond. And this is what they say. The first full Marvel booster release will arrive in the final quarter of the year in 2025. But very little is known outside of that. Spider-Man will be standard legal following the announcement that starting in 2025, all Universes Beyond sets will be legal in all formats. This is a huge announcement because in the past, like sets that they would release, just like Lord of the Rings, they were not standard legal. It was just like, okay, you could play this in other formats, but not standard. In 2025, these other to be determined, to be announced reveals, one being Spider-Man, will be, which is amazing because right away, like those cards maybe weren't necessarily considered overpowered, but really good cards. So it's cool now, and also like very specific about whatever genre. Of course, in the world of Spider-Man, who knows? Maybe capturing your prey and keeping it from moving in your web.
Well, I will say as a essentially like I'm a formal Marvel fan. I don't like a lot of what Marvel did. I will say that Spider-Man is a great choice
Yeah.
because they did really well with all of those movies, even the weird movies like the God, what was it? It was like animated.
Into the
Um,
multiverse?
yes, that was
It
fantastic.
was
But
incredible.
then even it was almost disappointing because it was so good. It made you wonder why the rest of the Marvel movies weren't that good.
Yeah. Hmm.
But the Spider-Man ones were all pretty acceptable, which is crazy to be able to do with a story that has been rehashed like 50 times. So,
Yeah.
it makes me happy being kind of like someone that I've stepped away from a lot of IPs. I don't do Marvel, I don't do Star Wars, I don't do Diablo, and I was like super fans of all of these, and I'm trying to, instead of be negative about them, to enjoy what I can with some of them, like the Spider-Mans, and then find new things that I enjoy just as much. But I think that's a great freaking choice.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man. You said there's others though.
There will
I
be one
bet
more
you
in 2025 they'll release. But yeah.
Black Panther would be a good choice. I feel like that would get the crowds hype. It was a pretty good set of movies too. Um,
It's the
it's
alternate
got to be
cards.
Iron Man,
Oh gosh.
right?
There's already I think I really do.
Or
I
or
think
Doctor Doom.
Doctor Dune.
I don't know. I can't remember a lot from when I had a couple comic books with him in it, and I think he was probably in a couple Spider-Man cartoon shows too. But the only reason I say that, knowing nothing else about him, is because Robert Downey Jr. is gonna play him, and that was like some reveal.
Oh yeah.
I
Doom.
honestly,
Oh yeah, Doctor Doom. Yes.
yeah, I'm not even hype about that, but maybe it's like something like it's a multiverse where it's an Iron Man that becomes But I don't know. I just like I guess I'm in the spirit of that, trying things anew, like you know.
Yeah, so when you say aliens, that was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, okay, let me just knock this out because really, that is
Oh
some
yeah.
exciting stuff to fall in line at the end of 2025.
No actual aliens though. That surprises me. I feel like Magic has everything.
Yeah, there are. So there's like one coming out at the like I believe in February, and it's about racing. Uh, I mean,
Racing?
yeah, like there's gonna be um some Atherborns, I believe, uh, trying to use vehicles to destroy the dinosaurs that are going to show up. There's three different planets. Is the storyline, and one of them will have dinosaurs, which is the one that's unknown, and the other two are somewhat known from maybe previous sets and releases from previous years. So, and when they say this, I really don't know how far are they talking. 7 years ago, 20 years ago, what are they perhaps re-releasing to bring it back to this standard modern play that still challenges you and incorporates these new ideas? Because they do release these new cards with these sets, but I do believe this is one of these other ones where they're kind of reintroducing old ideas. So it'll keep it fun. And I'm mostly interested in the dinosaurs. There's some really strong, very, in my mind, overpowered blue-green decks right now in Standard that are just based on dinosaurs. And
I would definitely, inner nerd in me, I would definitely try to collect some dinosaur
oh yeah,
cards.
oh yeah. Well, Ixalan, Caverns of Ixalan, LCI on the card, bottom left on any of these cards in Magic. if you see LCI, that's Lost Caverns of Ixalan. That set was like a homage to uh, some dinosaur. Perhaps, like, I might be wrong, but it might have been centered around, like Jurassic Park. Not exactly sure, but uh, with the crazy amount of bats and cavernous animals and these wild dinosaurs that show up, one intrepid analyst, I think his name is, he's one of the coolest ones, where he just sits on a battlefield and then in a moment's notice you just tap him, and then if you have a dinosaur in your yard, you can just exile that creature, and then at any time, if you can play it, you can play it. So he's an amazing little guy to have that really is like, in maybe I'm getting this analogy wrong, but it seems like it's a trainer in Pokemon, where you're able to like purposefully find your Pokemon and then play him in a game. Like, you have the control, you have the power to like set yourself up for success.
I mean, that is a Pokemon card. Like that, I just used it within this week.
The same type of strategy idea?
No, like you literally, it's a trainer, and it allows you. I think the one I had was like you pull a random Pokemon, but there are ones that allow you to search for a specific Pokemon. Like you literally play it and you just grab it right out your deck.
Okay, Intrepid Paleontologist, I think is the name of this guy that I'm thinking about. I'm not gonna look it up, but I do believe that's his name. Yes. And there's other cards that are the exact same thing that you just said, where like you can go through your deck, find the card that you want, put it in your hand. But this one is just more fun in my mind because it's just an easy one to get out there, and then can just start to rattle your opponent, because it's one that the opponent is going to want to get rid of, and it's kind of a waste for them to get rid of it when he's just a basic creature, where all he's going to do is just tap himself and get something from your yard, like quote unquote into your hand, because it's not necessarily in your hand, but when you exile that card and then you can play it from your hand, it's pretty much like it's in your hand. So it's a fun mechanism.
I gotta find me some groups of nerds to just play card games with. I think I got access to them, to be honest.
It'd be cool to have a bundle of friends where they all play like all the games, the top ones, so they could just say, okay, tonight let's you flip the coin and pick between these two, and then whatever it lands on, let's play that. I wish your library, Michael, was more elaborate in Magic, so I'll have to help you with that right now. Figure out a way to get you a bunch of cards in a short amount of time.
Honestly, just from me being I think this was like last Christmas or something. Like I ended up I was buying Pokemon, and one of the hot spots, because I told you in one of the episodes, I was like, I'm having trouble ordering them on TCG Player. I'm having trouble in real life. I'm like, I gotta get this down.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my go-tos is Target. Target has everything, dude. They be having trading cards that I scoff at. It'll be like a trading card that's a one-off of like vitamin water brands. I'm like, why the hell would we have this? But they do. And like, they often will have a good variety. If I'm in the mood for trading cards, they have the Dragon Ball. And just from random trips, I've got a little stack of Magic already. And I guess it's that. It's that and the Bloom Burrow are the only real things, but it's more than I thought it was going to be. I'll tell you that. I looked at the mythics, I read them, and I didn't think to myself, this is a god card. But I didn't look at the rares. That is something that's different with, I think, Pokemon. Pokemon is pretty much your rarest cards are also the most playable. You don't really have a whole lot of. You're not gonna have a common that's better than the rarest rare.
Yeah.
You might have some lower rares that are just independently useful in certain ways. Like I think there was a meme about a Lickitung, was it? That I think it does like the Kangaskhan where you flip a number of coins.
Oh, yeah.
And so the meme was it getting 4 heads or something and just bashing a legendary or like a Charizard or something.
Oh, man.
But that's just gambling is all it is.
Yeah.
And so, you can choose that if you want. Most of the time it's not going to work. But sometimes it will.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it'll wreck. But it wasn't quite like Magic where sometimes the uncommon is really useful because it's implemented in another part of the strategy. But I did try to look. I was like, let me see what my mythic was, and I found one of them and was like, it doesn't sound that great. Like, no.
Well, with us continue to talk about Magic, I'd like to jump right on into the this or that segment.
Well, good. I'm excited.
All right. Today, at this finest hour.
Right now.
We have 2 cards we're pitting up against each other. Okay? This is what we usually do. And again, it's a segment where we talk about this card or that card being the better card in competitive play in Magic. At this time, we're talking about Foundations, Magic the Gathering. First card on the agenda is Crystal Barricade. 2 mana, 1 plains, 1 colorless. It's an artifact creature, Michael, and it's a wall. So this is a new creature type that we're talking about. Guess what a wall is in Magic.
A wall might be a creature that has 0 attack and really high defense, so you can't get to the opponent's life.
Excellent. Yeah, pretty much. It's just like a great defending card for your deck. Usually,
is that right? Is it nicknamed a wall, or is it like a wall card type?
Yeah, it's a wall card type. So the creature, so it says it's an artifact creature, and then there's the hyphen, and then what is it? And it's a wall. Okay, so this is what this one reads. It has Defender, and what Defender is, it's an ability. One of these common abilities on cards that are walls mainly. This creature can't attack, so it's a 0/4. So if something were to give it a 3+3+3, right? So it's now a 3/7 creature. It can't attack still, unless some other card gives it the ability to attack. So it really just helps with your defense. This is also what it reads. Okay, so it has Defender, really can't attack, but it defends. You have hexproof. And the exact definition of what that means is you can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. Pretty strong. And the final ability of this card is prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control. It's a 0/4 creature, so it has 0 power, 4 toughness. So as long as it's blocking something with 3 power, it can survive that turn without dying. And just 2 mana. Okay? So,
read what it does again for me for that?
Sure thing. This is still on this. That we haven't discussed yet. This is all just this.
Wait, what? This is on the wall?
Yeah.
All right, read it again for me.
Yeah, this is why I'm excited tonight, because we're only comparing 2 2-mana cards against each other. This is the first 2-mana card. I'll read it all again.
Hit me with it.
Yeah, I'll give you the brief description. It has Defender.
I got the 0/4, the 2-mana.
There you go. It has Defender. You have hexproof, meaning you can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. And this creature also has prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control. And it doesn't say only during your turn, so that could be during your turn, during their turn. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I just feel like this is the winner.
Okay.
So what's that?
All
I mean,
right.
that's so strong.
Yeah.
The only, I guess, downside is it's low. 4 is kind of low in the grand scheme. But still, I mean,
2 mana.
prevents all other damage.
Non-combat damage. So if, say...
Non-combat.
Yeah, so, if they have creatures attacking other creatures of yours and you're blocking them, they're going to be taking that damage. But say they have a spell that deals 3 damage to every creature you control. That spell's not going to do anything for them at all, with that creature out there. All right. That tonight is Zul Asher Lich Lord? Lich Lord? Leech Lord. I don't know. Lich.
Man, he can lick.
All right, so here we go. He's a legendary creature, zombie warlock. He's a 2/2, so he's 2 power, 2 toughness. The ability on the card is Ward, pay 2 life. If you don't know what Ward is, it is whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that payer pays its ward cost. So in this case, its ward cost is pay 2 life. So if the opponent of yours would target this creature, they would have to pay 2 life. And the ability on this card is tap. You may cast target zombie creature card from your graveyard this turn.
Now, if he's tapped, does that ability still apply?
No, not if he's tapped, but you may tap him to then create that ability in that moment. And it doesn't say that it can't be done on the opponent's turn. So...
But the targeted thing, like lose life when targeted, does that happen when he's tapped?
He doesn't lose life. If the opponent wants to destroy this creature and say like they have a card that deals this creature 2 damage as an instant, the only way they're able to target this creature is they will have to pay that ward cost, which is they will have to pay 2 life. So that player will...
Right, I'm saying even if he's tapped, they pay 2 life.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
That's the ward cost embedded into that creature. Yep. But his main ability is the focal point here is that he has tap. You may cast target zombie creature from your graveyard this turn.
So funny. I don't even care about that part. It what's his attack and defense?
2/2. Now again, he's just a 2 mana creature. 1 colorless, 1 skull. The other one was 1 colorless, 1 plains. They're both rare cards.
All right, man. You usually, like, if I can recall correctly, you basically are like, these are both good. But I'm going to go with that because I feel like you can get to a spot where if he's the only one on your field and your opponent only has, like, the 2 life, they can't attack you without it being a draw, right?
Well, they can attack, but they can't target that creature. See, we're introducing a whole new term for what you understand, because ward, you probably haven't come across yet. Ward is just merely if this creature is targeted, the opponent has to spend 2 life. But if they're attacking and
so,
you're
like,
blocking,
maybe they have a flying creature and they can skip on over.
Even if they're attacking regular and you have the ability to block with this creature, the ward effect of this creature has no effect on your opponent. The ward effect only is if they have a spell in their hand that says the word target creature and targets that creature. then they would
All
have to
right.
pay the 2 life.
All right, I'm changing my answer. I'm going with this, but I think it's a trick question because I think that is probably going to be part of a scheme of zombies spawning that makes it more valuable. But I mean, a standalone without that knowledge, I'm going with the wall.
Okay, and then now that you've decided on wall, let me ask you a follow-up question. Earlier game, which of these 2 cards do you think is better?
Oh, the wall, hands down.
Okay, so you're correct and you're correct tonight. I'm saying both of your answers are spot on. What I would say in both. I think the Crystal Barricade is just a touch better because of the fact of it being such a strong early game card that can stunt your opponent's like quick advantages. If they have a lot of minions that can amass a lot of power early on and deal you no damage while you have no creatures to defend, this could stop that from happening. And that extra ability that it had, which was preventing all non-combat damage to other creatures. So yeah, maybe not, impressive during combat, but outside of combat, that can really keep a creature of yours alive and ultimately force the opponent to have cards that do either of these. Destroy your target creature or exile your target creature. But any card that they're going to have in their hand that has, an instant or even a sorcery ability that's deals 3 damage, deals 5 damage, whatever it might be, it deals X amount of damage, to a particular creature, X being however many creatures you control. All of that is going to be a wash with that ability of this card on the battlefield. So bravo, Michael, bravo. I would agree
Thank
with
you.
And yeah.
Thank you. I was born this way with these abilities.
Yeah, I think the zombie one I brought up only because I think it will show itself at some point soon with them being a little bit more zombie centric. After we just saw what came from the House of Horrors, the box that you're staring at over there, there's gonna be some zombies embedded in that, but I think there's a lot more zombies to show in the future, so I think we might see that card come to be a pretty important standalone card in the future for sure.
So I was just thinking kind of like what was original Magic like, and that spawned the question in my head. And before I just, do you know who Moist Critical is?
Moist Critical? No, I do not.
Wow. Okay. He's one of the great legends of YouTube. All right.
Okay.
A gentleman, and of course, he like many others, he became very popular and wealthy from streaming and his content he's created. And what he did was he took a fucking journey, Kevin. He bought Magic the Gathering like original cards, like the first set, and he opened them with his friends and he built decks. And what he did was he played Magic through the ages. And so, like, he started with the first set, and then he would go to, like, the next, and they would open them, and they would make a deck, and they would play. So he experienced it from, like, the very beginning.
Wow.
In 2023 or 22 or whenever he did it. Yeah, and it just, I was kind of thinking, like, because you're like, Target is kind of you probably haven't come across Target too many times, but like, what was original Magic like? Like, how complicated was it? Was it always like this crazy, or did it used to be less?
I think it was crazier because
Oh, snap.
I really do. I really do, because I think it's similar to how you perceive sorcery right now, where it can be a touch overwhelming only because we haven't had millions of players go through that sequence of events and it be, fully understood amongst all these players. It could have been a lot of like the unknown expressing itself every week, and then a lot of scratching your head, going, what's really gonna happen with this sequence of events here. That's the way I would think about it.
It's funny. I'm pretty sure, and I should know this because I volunteered at Gen Con when they did their competitive, I think it was a draft.
Sorcery?
And yeah, for sorcery. And I'm pretty sure they have this dude that was just like, I mean, everybody that knew anything just respected him as he knows the answer. And it's like, I don't know, he was crowned that by the court of public opinion. Like, he doesn't, he didn't work for the company or nothing. They were like, he determines anything that is explained and no one can agree, he will be the judge at this competition.
Wow.
Like, he was the guy. And I'm
title.
pretty sure I know, right? I'm pretty sure in the first competitive match, they actually in the two decks came across like a dispute, and it was nuanced, and he came up with the answer. But it's funny because it is nice to also, like, I don't like that as much. I guess I'm a weird nerd, but that, because I had my nerd friends over and they like that part a lot. They like the, oh no, I think it should do this and I think it should do that. I want a law book that I can just open up, page 57. Here it is, right here. This is the interaction. This is how to be. Because I guess I want the game to be less about the exploration of the game rules, and I want it to be more of an exploration of my opponent's mind. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like how do they play? What's their strategy?
Right.
And
How
if
can you find that one weakness that they don't even know that they have?
Well, yeah, I mean, even they say, like, if you truly know something, you have to love it. Like, it's just like, I don't know where that expression comes from. If it's like, just so true knowledge is just such an intimate thing. Like, there's one truth, and understanding, but it's like, I feel like arguing over the rule gets in the way of that, and it leaves, open-endedness. So I'm not the greatest fan of having that, and my confusion in sorcery is due to my noobness. I'm just too new. It's not that confusing of a game. I haven't put a lot of time in to play it like that. But I'm glad Magic, although it being fairly complicated, I'm glad there's like a definitive, like, they have that part down. I don't want to guess, I just want to know. I mean, even if we do it wrong, I'm not one of those, like, I wouldn't call you back and be like, you actually lost this match because the rule was, but I would like to know, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's not about I can have just fun for the sake of having fun, but I never found the exploration of the rules to be part of that.
Yeah,
I
think I've had it lucky with Magic, having a friend who truly was ready to explain the actual, like, proper rule in that moment, although I may have done something slightly, incorrect upon using an instant or casting an enchantment and then immediately skipping to combat before giving, the opponent the ability to respond, which, again, you just have to remember in Magic, and it makes sense. Every action has a reaction. So anytime you do something, you pretty much just allow your opponent to have the ability to respond. And if they have something to respond, then they have that ability. If it's during your turn, most of the time, the only two main times they're going to do something is if they can play an instant or if they can play a flash. If they have an ability of a card that can trigger at any time, then that'll also happen. But yeah, a flash is, remember last podcast I said Solitude was the more valuable card that I pulled. It was a creature card that had flash. Flash is the ability that it can be played at the same time an instant could be played. And in that case, that creature, that card was a creature. So it's like, that's huge to, in the moment of casting an instant, in that moment, you can just say, I'm casting a creature. Because then they can attack. And then they go, okay, these are all my attackers. I can see that you have no creatures. Then you can play your creature with flash. It enters the battlefield, and immediately you can block. So you can...
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, you can probably kill one of their creatures right then and there.
Now, you had brought up you wanted to talk to me about a card you pulled.
Well, not a card that I pulled. I think this one was just a cat. I think that was the... Yeah.
I thought you were ripping packs.
Oh, gosh, no. Soon. I'm...
You said that with longing, like you really wanted it.
Yeah. I really do want to... I'm getting a box soon, so until next time. But this cat that I wanted to tell you about...
Yeah.
I actually just want you to look it up. Look up, probably on TCG or any of these sources, Helpful Hunter, Magic the Gathering. It's from Foundations. And this card is just cool because there's a lot of decks that are built around cards like this. which is truly funny. Because of your animosity towards detectives right now and investigating and spending 2 mana to draw a card. Yeah. A beautiful cat, and all it does is when this creature enters, draw a card.
Yeah, I love this cat.
Yeah.
He's cute.
Yeah. And this is such a strong card on turn 2 in a lot of deck ideas. Because it really is. I used to not think that a card like this was good. But once you play enough, you realize that having maybe 3 or 4 of these in a deck is great for early game when you don't want to be drawing 1,000,001 cards and having no mana to spend to cast your creatures. But you also want to have more of a draw than your opponent. And this is one of those perfect cards that does exactly that. It gives you a creature, so if you have to, you can defend against some monstrous creature attacking you right early on, and it gives you that ability to draw a card and see what can come out of it. And maybe that card is going to enhance this cat. Maybe it'll destroy your opponent's creature or ruin their deck idea, whatever it might be. It's a solid card, and not as beautiful as 9 Lives Familiar, but in my mind, beautiful enough.
He's a pretty cat, and he's useful.
Yeah.
Draw that card.
I don't know. Is he like a tabby cat? Like, is this like an orange cat like this?
I don't
like
know.
A particular type of.
No, he's white with like black stripes. I don't know what kind of cat this is. I'm not up to date on my cats, but I can tell you what, he'd probably be expensive if you bought him from the store.
He's a common man, so he's probably worth 25 cents. No, I'm kidding.
Poor kitty.
Yeah, but I thought he was cool. There's a lot of enchantment decks in the past that there was of course, now I can't think of the name of the card, an enchantment creature that did exactly this card's ability. Just when it enters, draw a card. Spirited Companion, that was the name. And it's the same exact thing, but it works early game, and it can really just help you kind of ride the wave if you didn't pull what you needed to pull on your opening draw. With those first 7 cards, you might not need a mulligan if you have something like him in your hand.
I keep wanting to ask you, but realize you're probably not. I was going to ask you what back in the video game world here,
Mm.
what you were gonna start with on Path of Exile 2, but I feel like you're gonna miss the whole beta, or not miss it, but you're not gonna play it until probably next year if you do at all. Um,
I might miss some of December, but yeah, the Ranger I think they did a great job with. Not too interested in that play. I don't think they have a character class called the Paladin, do they?
not that they've revealed. They have 6 more that they didn't show us that won't be revealed until the full release.
Mm.
But they have a monk who like goes around. I think a barbarian, although I don't remember them talking about a barbarian, but I
Yeah,
swear there
that's
was a
what it looked
guy.
like. Yeah, he
Yeah,
is the barbarian. Yeah, I think
and
the monk
there's a
has right now.
demon lady, which I didn't like because she floated, and I like honestly would love. I maybe it was the witch and she ascends because they have ascendancy classes where like you eventually hit a road and you have to choose between 3 of the final tiers, and it was like blood witch and demon, and then they're not revealing the third. They're like saving a bunch of stuff for the full release, which is cool. But
That's four
I
through
still
six.
haven't decided. I might just have to be a sorceress. I honestly, the the characters with like the dude with the gun, the mercenary, dude, the play looked so much fun
Yeah,
that I was like, damn, maybe I'm gonna be that, and maybe I'll save sorceress. But then part of me, I did that in Diablo 3, where I made a sorceress and I like leveled and geared, and then I made like I was making one of every character basically. And then when I got to the demon hunter, I couldn't stop. And I got some crazy crossbow in D3, and it was like early on, so it didn't have value for very long, but it gave me enough of a taste that I fell in love. And I'm almost worried. I'm like, if I want to be a sorceress, I better just be one, or else I'll fall in love with something else. It's all good problems to have.
I thought um, when I saw the sorceress that we would have a great pairing of sorceresses. Going back to the Diablo 2 eras.
You mean if like we play together with the sorceresses?
Yeah, yeah.
I literally thought the same thing, which is odd because did we all? I don't know that we really played that much together
I don't think we
as
did
two sorceresses.
because we were literally like I don't know how wealthy and how amazing we were in the across the board with every other player, but we were like the top 1% obviously. Um, and I think that like, you and I didn't need to be in the same game because we were just if you and I like we had our cold choices, there was no reason to be in the same game. Like we were,
Oh yeah, once we got to end game, we were off doing our own
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't think we did a whole lot of PvP like our friends and families and stuff did.
You know
Or
what really
brothers.
messed it up for me was the Zorb. I hated that
Yeah,
people could nullify my
yeah.
damage. But you know in D2 Res they fixed that. They they made a small or a grand charm that drops that you have to farm a specific end game area, and it breaks immunities. Like even in hell the minions that were previously immune, it breaks it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so you can actually kill everything. Um well listen, it's kind of late for me. I started getting sleepy over here. We're not recording this on our normal schedule or day. We're trying to fit everything in ahead of Thanksgiving
Mm-hmm.
coming up. So
Oh yeah.
happy holidays to everybody celebrating anything out there.
Enjoy it with your
Um
friends. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Are you okay if I hop into Sedgum's Satisfaction and we start wrapping things up?
Let's do it. I am sitting down and I have a full gallon of water in front of me here tonight.
I thought you were gonna say a beer. Um, all right, so let's start Sedgum's Satisfaction. It's a game with points and prizes. We played it a few times now. Usually, I buy a PSA card ahead of time. Today, I kind of bought one in a rush. I actually ended up buying two, so I have one for a couple episodes now. But Kevin, you have 40 points from the last two games.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I can't buy anything with them, but I can.
You
Sure,
can't
you
buy
look at
anything.
them.
I do have a real life prize in my possession now that's waiting for you to reach the threshold of prize points, which I haven't revealed, but you'll know whenever you look upon the Jin's face. But let's dive in. You last were in a cot, a small cot, being handed a glass of water by a confused young lady who didn't understand what you must be seeing because you were talking crazy talk like there had been a djinn in front of you or something. And you decide to get some fresh air. So you step outside, you look straight down, and you see the same glass vial again. Like there's some nightmare upon you. And as you turn back, the hut is gone. It's nothing but sand everywhere in the jar.
Wow.
What do you do?
I pick
This
it
is my
back.
favorite part of the game.
I pick it up and I shake it vigorously.
All right, very good. Very good. The genie.
He gives me points
And
for no reason.
traditionally, he pours out the top like a fizzy soda, and then the bubbles, the carbon dioxide, it forms into the gin you're all too familiar with, and you see Sejum. The look on his face suggests that he is not yet very satisfied.
He's rather menacing, I think, at this point.
He's probably pretty menacing. No lightning yet. But as he and you must know, your good friend Michael has purchased another PSA 10 card. What set? He begins to ask you a series of 3 questions, searching for satisfying answers. The first question is, what set is this from? Is it A, Yu-Gi-Oh, B, Magic, C, One Piece, or D, Dragon Ball Super?
Wow.
I know, Pokemon's not even on there.
And sorcery's not on there? Or is sorcery One Piece?
Right. No.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
One Piece is like an anime with a pirate.
Okay. I'm gonna go with.
Do you know what Yu-Gi-Oh is? You know what Yu-Gi-Oh is.
Oh yeah. I played Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. And then Dragon Ball. I feel like you've heard. It's 3 animes and a magic, basically.
Well, I am gonna go with D. Final answer.
Storm clouds gather, lightning begins to strike. The Jin Sejum, he, although is not surprised, he doesn't seem as upset as he has been prior, almost as if he is used
Relieved.
to these answers being incorrect. After all, you are but a mere thirsty mortal, and you know not the answers to his questions all the time. The answer was One Piece. It's the next thing I'm opening on my channel, so I have a whole box. I actually haven't really watched it. I'm gonna watch some tonight, a matter of fact. I'll make that my wind down before bed here.
Cool.
But let's not get into that. The genie standing before you, he, as if seeking satisfaction from you, he asked you, what type of card is it? Is it A, a rare, B, a promotional card, C, a sample card, or D, a common card?
I want to go a rare final.
The genie is upset. He begins to make an angry frown. It is a promotional card. Fun fact, I had no idea what this card was when I bought it. I was literally trying to get this in a hurry so we could start our podcast. And I ended up buying
man.
2 cards in the spontaneity. But it ended up being a promo card. Which brings us, all of these questions award 25 points towards the genie's satisfaction. So we are at 0 points yet, but the third and final question is, what quantity of this card is in a Gem Mint PSA 10? And the choices are the same as always before. A, 1 to 10, B, 11 to 50, or C, 51 to 500. Or, I forgot there's D2, more than 500. I actually have to scan this right now as we do this so I can figure out what...
Excellent. Well, then how about just scan it, and then when you have that number, I'm going to...
I've got it.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right. I'm just going to absorb some of this energy that I'm feeling right now.
I'm looking at the number.
Excellent. I would say it is between, what was it, 11 and 50?
11 and 50. The genie is angry. He shoots lightning at you. It goes through your chest, although nothing happens. You are scared half to death. The answer is C, 51 to 500. There's a population of 290. I'm assuming it's a 2024 promo. It is the main character. Monkey D. Luffy is his name. But I got it because I got the cat from Magic, and I've gotten a sorcery card. I'm gonna try to get some stuff from all the different animes, and Pokemon I'm probably easiest to pick out. So I'm not really that into One Piece yet, so I don't even know what kind of cards I'm looking at. But I figured it's still a good representation of the show because it's the main character. And I figure, these are all kind of really random questions, so maybe I will try to make it less lucky in the future. But for now, you're a challenge from the genie. He looks before you, and in his dissatisfaction, he goes, "You have one more chance to find me, please." And he asks, what color is the band on his hat in the card? And it is either A, black, B, red, C, blue, or D, green.
I'm going with C, blue, only because I wanted it to be somewhat of a purple color in my mind. So I'm going with blue.
All right. The genie, the djinn, the mighty Sejam. At first he grins, and you feel a deep pleasure as you are excited to
relish.
guess correctly. However, he just begins to laugh maniacally, almost as if he has reached insanity through frustration. He picks you up, and he carries you through the desert to the ocean, and he drops you in an empty raft. Wow. And there he leaves you because the answer, it had been B, red. I'm sure if there's any One Piece fans, they're mad at you, Kevin, because this is the main character of the franchise. I did this just to stir trouble in the comment section below.
Good.
I gotta watch the show too, though. I can't. I'm no better. I happen to be in control of this fantasy genie. But so normally we cut the points you earned in half at the end of the segment.
But since I have no points, I get double, right? Now I get double the points?
No, unfortunately, you get half of 0, which I will tally in.
Well,
I'll even type it.
Add a decimal point for me.
There you go. 40.0, which concludes it. But I will say, and I'm on the fence to this, because the prize is real, and then I have to ship it out. And so the 25 points are not super substantial But answering the challenge question correctly is enormous progress towards getting your prize. So it's interesting to, I'm in interest of balancing this. It's like, I feel like if I may make it easier, you could all of a sudden instantly have satisfied the genie.
And be
But
awarded
yeah,
his gifts?
yeah,
Wow.
yes. I think you're gonna love what I got for you, but
I have a feeling I would be all
I
about
the
it, but
the crazy thing is, I don't think I would, but it's not because I don't like it. It's because I'm just so particular about it's like OCD level stuff. It's just like the storage bins where I was like, I got 5 more of the same one because they had to be the same, even though I had no idea if I liked them or not yet. And it's
yeah.
like kind of that vein.
Hmm.
But yeah, you end with 40 points, a dissatisfied genie, and
I'm
infinite
now in the
chances
ocean.
remain to claim more points in your prize in our segment, Sedgem Satisfaction.
I'm now lurking in the, misty waters where the Titanic probably went down. Who knows?
That's great.
Well, as always, what a pleasure. And thank Michael. I'm gonna I'm gonna sayonara from my now deflating tubes. as I look for a paddle and pray that the gin comes back for more. We'll leave everybody on that one. So we'll bring more cards to you guys all next time. Anything else, Michael? On your end?
That's it for me.
Well, we thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you guys next time.